Greetings, fellow seekers of knowledge. Settle in, find your focus, or simply let the gentle hum of discovery guide you into a restful state. Tonight, we embark on a remarkable journey, not through the cosmos or into the quantum foam, but across the living, breathing surface of our own planet. We'll uncover a hidden chapter in science history, a tale of intrepid botanists, global cooperation, and a profound quest to understand the green world beneath our feet. If you find solace or inspiration in this exploration, please consider leaving a like, a comment, or sharing it with someone who might. Your engagement fuels these voyages of discovery. Now let the story unfold. Friends, learners, dreamers of the universe, welcome. Tonight, we embark on a journey not through the cosmos, but through the very earth beneath our feet and the intricate, vibrant life it sustains. We often speak of grand expeditions to distant stars, of telescopes peering into the dawn of time, but equally profound, equally illuminating are the explorations that unfurl right here on our own living planet. We're going to delve into a fascinating, perhaps little-known chapter of scientific discovery, one that stitched together minds across continents and oceans, fostering a global understanding of the green world that nourishes us all. Imagine, if you will, the early 20th century. The world, though rapidly industrializing, still held vast, uncharted botanical mysteries. Scientists in different nations, speaking different languages, were often working in isolation, slowly piecing together fragments of a monumental puzzle. How did specific plants come to inhabit certain regions? What environmental forces shaped their distribution? And crucially, why were they there? These were the pressing questions that demanded not just observation, but collaboration on an unprecedented scale. And so, from this fertile ground of inquiry, a remarkable initiative bloomed: the International Phytogeographic Excursions. This wasn't just a series of academic conferences. These were journeys, grand tours of landscapes, forests, mountainsides, and coastlines, undertaken by the leading botanical minds of the era. These excursions served as vital arteries, carrying the lifeblood of scientific ideas across national borders, bridging linguistic divides, and most importantly, laying the foundational roots for what we now understand as modern plant ecology. The seed for this groundbreaking series was planted in 1908 at the International Geographic Congress in Geneva. It was there that Arthur Tansley, a brilliant British botanist, first voiced the vision. Tansley, along with another pivotal figure, the American ecologist Henry C. Cowles, had been profoundly inspired by a new, revolutionary approach to understanding plant life. This was the ecological plant geography, championed by the Danish botanist Eugenius Warming. Now, before Warming, much of plant geography had been, in essence, a meticulous cataloging. It was what we call floristic plant geography, simply documenting what plants grew where. It was essential work, certainly, but it often stopped short of asking the deeper questions. Warming, however, pushed the boundaries. He wasn't just interested in the what. He wanted to understand the why. Why did certain species thrive in a particular soil type? Why did a specific climate limit a plant's range? Why did communities of plants interact in the ways they did? It was this quest for the underlying mechanisms, the ecological relationships, that ignited the imagination of Tansley and Cowles and set the stage for a new era of botanical exploration. And so, in the summer of 1911, the very first International Phytogeographic Excursion came to life. Organized by Arthur Tansley himself, this inaugural journey wound its way through the diverse landscapes of the British Isles. Imagine these brilliant minds side by side, traversing the rolling hills of England, the rugged Scottish Highlands, and the verdant emerald fields of Ireland. They were not merely observing. They were discussing, debating, sharing insights directly from the field. It was a dynamic, living classroom where theories could be tested against the tangible reality of the natural world. Though we won't list every single participant from these early excursions in detail tonight, it's important to grasp the spirit of these gatherings. These weren't just colleagues. They were pioneers, forging a new language of scientific understanding, building bridges of knowledge one shared observation at a time. The impact of this first excursion was palpable, creating a powerful momentum for subsequent journeys. Just 2 years later, in 1913, the Second International Phytogeographic Excursion took on an even more ambitious scope. This time, the journey stretched across the vast North American continent from July to September. Hosted by a collective of prominent American ecologists, spearheaded by the aforementioned Henry C. Cowles, this excursion offered participants an unparalleled opportunity to witness the incredible botanical diversity of a continent still relatively wild and untamed. From the towering forests to the expansive prairies, the insights gained were immense, cementing the value of direct observation and international exchange. However, the relentless march of scientific discovery, like all human endeavors, is often shaped by the turbulent currents of history. The Third International Phytogeographic Excursion, proposed in 1915, found itself in the shadow of a global cataclysm, the First World War. The grand plans for scientific collaboration had to be put on hold as nations turned against each other. But the spirit of scientific inquiry is remarkably resilient. After the devastating conflict, the world slowly began to heal, and with it, the desire for international cooperation in science rekindled. In 1923, 8 years after its initial proposal, the third excursion finally took place, hosted in the neutral haven of Switzerland. And as noted by John William Harshberger in his report for the journal Ecology, a poignant detail emerged. Participants from Germany, France, and other nations that had so recently been at war coexisted peacefully on this scientific pilgrimage. In the shared pursuit of understanding the natural world, old animosities began to fade, if only for a time. The excursion was meticulously organized by the Swiss botanists Rubel, Schroeder, and H. Brockmann-Jarasch, and once again brought together a formidable gathering of botanical minds. The momentum continued, and in 1925, the Fourth International Phytogeographic Excursion ventured north into the breathtaking landscapes of Scandinavia. From July 2nd to August 24th, this journey unfolded as a grand tour through Sweden and Norway. It began in Lund, in southernmost Sweden, sweeping northward through cultural and academic hubs like Stockholm and Uppsala, reaching as far as the remote, stark beauty of Abisko, before descending through Norway and concluding in Oslo. Organized by G. Einar Du Rietz from Uppsala University, this excursion highlighted the unique adaptations of flora in colder, more extreme environments. By this point, the initial ecological plant geography championed by warming had matured, evolving into the distinct discipline we now recognize as plant ecology. Interestingly, the program of this particular excursion also saw a return, in part, to the earlier focus on floristic plant geography. This ebb and flow, this dynamic interplay between descriptive observation and explanatory theory, is a natural and necessary part of scientific progress. Throughout the 1930s, and even after the Second World War, the international phytogeographic excursions continued their vital work, albeit with some shifts in their role. They happened at regular intervals, fostering connections and sharing knowledge. For example, the fifth excursion journeyed to Czechoslovakia in 1928, organized by Karel Dahmen. The sixth took participants to Romania in 1931, followed by the seventh in Italy in 1934. The eighth ventured further afield, exploring the rich botanical diversity of Morocco and Western Algeria in 1936. While these later excursions continued to be incredibly valuable, the mainstream of evolving ecological thought began to find other avenues for scientific exchange. Conferences became more specialized, journals more numerous, and direct communication between researchers became easier. Yet, the foundational spirit of the excursions, of direct observation, shared experience, and international collaboration, remained imprinted on the very fabric of plant science. The list of these journeys stretches on, each one a testament to the enduring human desire to comprehend our living world. In 1949, the ninth excursion visited the familiar landscapes of Ireland. 1953 saw the 10th excursion venturing to the diverse terrains of Spain. The rugged beauty of the Eastern Alps hosted the 11th excursion in 1956. Czechoslovakia welcomed participants again for the 12th excursion in 1958. 1961 brought an exploration of Finland and the northern reaches of Norway. The mid-60s, specifically 1966, offered a complex journey through the French Alps, Switzerland, and the Eastern Pyrenees. The Western Alps were revisited for the 14th excursion in 1970. 1971 saw the 15th excursion exploring the ancient and vibrant flora of mainland Greece and Crete. The series then crossed oceans, with the 16th excursion visiting the United States of America in 1978. 1983 marked a truly global reach, with the 17th excursion exploring the unique ecosystems of Argentina. And in 1984, the journey turned to the fascinating botanical tapestry of Japan. Finally, in 1989, the 19th excursion ventured to Poland, continuing this grand tradition of shared scientific exploration. Each of these excursions, each journey, each shared conversation under an open sky, contributed immeasurably to our collective understanding of plant distribution, adaptation, and the delicate ecological balance that governs life on Earth. They were not merely trips. They were crucial chapters in the ongoing story of how humanity comes to grips with the complexities of our planet. They remind us that true scientific progress often happens not in isolation, but in communion, in the shared pursuit of knowledge across all borders. And with that, we conclude this segment, leaving you to ponder the immense impact of these pioneering journeys as we prepare to map life's green tapestry in our next exploration. Having laid the groundwork for our understanding of plant life, we now embark on a fascinating journey, one that truly illustrates the blossoming of scientific collaboration across continents and cultures. This is the story of how botanists, driven by an insatiable curiosity about the green world, began to map life's intricate tapestry through early journeys of scientific diplomacy. Imagine, if you will, the turn of the 20th century. The world, though interconnected by steamships and telegraphs, still harbored significant barriers to intellectual exchange. Scientific communities, while vibrant, often operated within national or linguistic silos. Yet, a new breeze was stirring, propelled by a desire to understand the fundamental why behind plant distribution, a question far more profound than simply what grows where. This shift in perspective was largely influenced by the pioneering work of Eugenius Warming, whose ecological plant geography challenged the traditional, purely descriptive approach. Warming sought answers, explanations for the patterns we observe in nature, rather than just cataloging them. This intellectual revolution, a quest for ecological understanding, deeply inspired two pivotal figures, the British botanist Arthur Tansley and the American ecologist Henry C. Cowles. They recognized the immense value in bridging geographical divides to foster a truly global scientific discourse. The stage was set, then, at the International Geographic Congress in Geneva in 1908. It was here that Arthur Tansley, with remarkable foresight, took the initiative to propose something groundbreaking, a series of international meetings dedicated to plant geography. These gatherings, soon to be known as the International Phytogeographic Excursions, were envisioned as more than just academic conferences. They were to be immersive experiences, journeys into the living laboratories of the natural world. And so, the first of these historic excursions materialized in 1911, an odyssey through the diverse landscapes of the British Isles. Organized by Tansley himself, this initial voyage took participants across the rugged beauty of England, the untamed wilds of Scotland, and the verdant expanses of Ireland. Imagine these brilliant minds from various nations, traversing bogs and fells, forests and coastlines, all united by their shared passion for botany. They weren't just observing, they were discussing, debating, and forging intellectual bonds that transcended their national origins. This was more than a field trip. It was a foundational moment for international scientific cooperation in the burgeoning field of plant ecology. The success of the first excursion ignited a fervent desire for more such collaborations. Just 2 years later, in the summer of 1913, the Second International Phytogeographic Excursion set its sights on an even grander scale, a transcontinental journey across the vast and varied landscapes of North America. This ambitious undertaking, spanning from July to September, was expertly hosted by a cohort of American ecologists, with Henry C. Cowles at the helm. Imagine the sheer scope of such a trip, moving from the eastern seaboard to the western wilderness, experiencing the continent's immense botanical diversity firsthand. These journeys were not merely about identifying species. They were about understanding ecosystems, observing how different plant communities thrived under varying environmental conditions. The participants, a diverse group of international scholars, would have engaged in spirited discussions on topics ranging from glacial succession to the impact of climate on vegetation zones. They were witnessing, in real time, the ecological principles that warming and others have begun to articulate. This exchange of ideas, directly observed in the field, was invaluable, cementing a truly global perspective on plant distribution and adaptation. However, the relentless march of scientific discovery, like all human endeavors, is often shaped by the turbulent currents of history. The shadow of impending global conflict soon loomed large. A third international phytogeographic excursion was proposed for 1915, but the outbreak of the First World War cast its grim pall over international cooperation, forcing a necessary postponement. Yet, the spirit of scientific inquiry is remarkably resilient. After the cessation of hostilities, in a neutral embrace of Switzerland, the third excursion finally came to fruition in 1923. It was a poignant moment, as noted by John William Harshberger in his report in the journal Ecology. Participants from nations that had only recently been embroiled in devastating conflict, Germany, France, and others, found themselves coexisting peacefully, united once again by their shared intellectual pursuit. The Swiss botanists Rubel, Schroeder, and H. Brockman-Jarasch meticulously organized this pivotal gathering, providing a much-needed space for healing and renewed collaboration. It was a powerful testament to the unifying potential of science, a beacon of hope in a world scarred by war. The rhythm of these excursions, once established, continued. In 1925, the Fourth International Phytogeographic Excursion unfolded across the breathtaking beauty of Scandinavia. From July 2nd to August 24th, this journey led participants through the ancient forests and dramatic fjords of Sweden and Norway. Starting in Lund in Sweden's southernmost reaches, the group traveled north to Stockholm and Uppsala, then ventured into the stark, subarctic grandeur of Abisko, before descending through Norway to conclude in Oslo. Organized by G. Einar Du Rietz from Uppsala University, this excursion marked a subtle, yet significant shift. By this time, warming's pioneering ecological plant geography had matured into the distinct discipline we now know as plant ecology. However, the excursion program itself, perhaps in a desire to revisit foundational principles, temporarily swung back towards a more descriptive, floristic plant geography. This ebb and flow between the descriptive and the explanatory is a natural part of scientific evolution, each approach offering valuable insights into the intricate mechanisms of the natural world. Throughout the 1930s and even after the cataclysm of the Second World War, the international phytogeographic excursions continued their regular cadence. The fifth excursion graced Czechoslovakia in 1928, organized by Karel Dahmen. Romania hosted the sixth in 1931, followed by Italy for the seventh in 1934. The eighth, in 1936, ventured further afield, exploring the unique botanical riches of Morocco and western Algeria. These excursions, while perhaps moving slightly outside the mainstream of rapidly evolving ecological theory, nonetheless continued to serve a vital role. They maintained a global network, ensuring that direct observation and international exchange remained cornerstones of botanical science. Simultaneously, the burgeoning field of plant ecology was finding new avenues for scientific exchange through academic journals, specialized conferences, and an ever-expanding web of international research collaborations. The legacy of these journeys continued well into the latter half of the 20th century. The 9th excursion in Ireland in 1949, the 10th in Spain in 1953, and the 11th through the majestic Eastern Alps in 1956. Czechoslovakia welcomed the 12th in 1958, followed by a venture into Finland and North Norway in 1961. The French Alps, Switzerland, and the Eastern Pyrenees were explored in 1966, with the Western Alps revisited for the 14th excursion in 1970. Mainland Greece and Crete offered their unique botanical treasures for the 15th in 1971. As the world shrank with advances in travel and communication, the scope of these excursions expanded even further. The 16th excursion took participants to the vast and diverse landscapes of the USA in 1978. Then, in 1983, the 17th journey ventured to the Southern Hemisphere, exploring the unique flora of Argentina. Japan hosted an excursion in 1984, and Poland welcomed the 19th in 1989. Each of these excursions, spanning decades and continents, represents more than just a series of scientific trips. They are a testament to humanity's enduring fascination with the plant kingdom, a story of how curiosity blossomed into collaboration, and how, through shared journeys and open dialogue, our understanding of life's green tapestry has been intricately mapped, stitch by ecological stitch. These early journeys of scientific diplomacy laid the groundwork for the global, interconnected plant science we know today, reminding us that the pursuit of knowledge often thrives best when shared across borders and embraced by diverse minds. As the new century dawned, the intricate tapestry of plant life, once merely catalogued, began to reveal deeper patterns, begging for a more profound understanding. The early expeditions, though foundational, had primarily focused on what grew where. But the burgeoning field of plant geography, infused with ecological thought, started to ask why. This shift from descriptive cataloging to causal inquiry would revolutionize our understanding of Earth's green mantle. The pivotal moment arrived in 1908 at the International Geographic Congress in Geneva. There, a visionary British botanist named Arthur Tansley, acutely aware of the isolated silos of scientific endeavor across nations, proposed something truly audacious, a series of international gatherings dedicated to plant geography. These weren't just conferences, mind you. These were to be immersive journeys, international phytogeographic excursions, designed to break down barriers of language and nationality, fostering a shared understanding of plant distribution in its natural habitat. Tansley, along with another key figure, the American botanist Henry C. Cowles, had been profoundly influenced by the pioneering work of Eugenius Warming. Warming's ecological plant geography dared to ask the why questions. Why do certain plants thrive in specific environments? Why do particular communities of plants exist in one region and not another? This was a radical departure from the traditional floristic plant geography, which, while invaluable for its detailed lists, often stopped short of explaining the underlying ecological mechanisms. The excursions, then, were born from this intellectual fervor, a quest to explore the living laboratories of the natural world and unravel the ecological dramas playing out within them. The inaugural excursion unfolded in 1911, a grand tour through the diverse landscapes of the British Isles. Organized by Tansley himself, it wound its way through the rolling hills of England, the rugged highlands of Scotland, and the verdant expanses of Ireland. Imagine, if you will, a group of brilliant minds from various corners of the globe, walking through ancient forests, across windswept moors, and along coastal cliffs, all sharing their observations, debating theories, and forging connections that transcended national borders. It was a testament to the power of shared scientific curiosity, a burgeoning intellectual commonwealth. Just 2 years later, in 1913, the torch passed across the Atlantic for the Second International Phytogeographic Excursion. This epic journey spanned North America from July to September, hosted by a cohort of leading American ecologists, prominently led by Henry C. Cowles. From the eastern seaboard to the western wilds, participants witnessed a vast array of ecological zones, each a living testament to the intricate dance between plants and their environment. These excursions weren't mere sightseeing trips. They were immersive field seminars, where hands-on observation and direct engagement with the landscape ignited new insights and challenged existing paradigms. The momentum, however, faced an unforeseen and devastating interruption. A third international phytogeographic excursion was proposed for 1915, but the rumblings of global conflict soon escalated into the cataclysm of the First World War. The grand ambitions of international scientific collaboration were, for a time, overshadowed by the grim realities of war. But the spirit of inquiry, like a resilient seed, would not be suppressed indefinitely. After the guns fell silent and the world began to heal, the third excursion was finally realized in 1923, hosted by the neutral nation of Switzerland. As the botanist John William Harshberger noted in his report in the journal Ecology, it was a poignant scene. Participants from Germany, France, and other nations so recently at war, now coexisting peacefully, united by their shared passion for understanding the natural world. The Swiss botanists Rubel, Schroeder, and H. Brockman-Jarasch meticulously organized this pivotal event, proving that even in the wake of immense global conflict, the pursuit of knowledge could serve as a powerful bridge. 2 years later, in 1925, the Fourth International Phytogeographic Excursion set its sights on the breathtaking landscapes of Scandinavia. From July 2nd to August 24th, this extensive journey traversed Sweden and Norway. It commenced in Lund, in the southernmost reaches of Sweden, then journeyed north through Stockholm, the vibrant capital, to Uppsala, a renowned academic hub, and on to Abisko, deep within the Arctic Circle. From there, the excursion wound its way south through the stunning fjords and mountains of Norway, finally concluding in Oslo. Organized by G. Einar Du Rietz from Uppsala University, this excursion highlighted the remarkable botanical diversity of the Nordic region. By this point, Warming's ecological plant geography had matured and blossomed into the distinct discipline of plant ecology. Interestingly, as the focus of the field solidified, the excursion program itself experienced a subtle shift, returning, in some ways, to the principles of floristic plant geography. The intensive, focused explorations of specific plant communities and their distributions continued to hold immense value, providing critical data for the broader ecological picture. Throughout the 1930s, and even after the seismic shifts of the Second World War, the international phytogeographic excursions continued their steady rhythm. While perhaps no longer at the absolute vanguard of mainstream ecological thought, these gatherings consistently provided invaluable opportunities for hands-on learning, direct observation, and the crucial exchange of ideas among botanists and ecologists worldwide. The scientific community, ever adaptable, also began to develop other, more formalized means of exchange like international conferences and peer-reviewed journals. But the excursions remained a cherished tradition, a living link to the roots of the discipline. The excursions continued their global trajectory. In 1928, the Fifth International Phytogeographic Excursion explored Czechoslovakia, guided by Karel Dahmen. Romania hosted the sixth excursion in 1931. Italy welcomed the seventh excursion in 1934. And in 1936, the eighth excursion ventured to the captivating landscapes of Morocco and western Algeria, expanding the scope to include North African phytogeography. After the Second World War, the excursions, resilient and enduring, resumed their important work. Ireland hosted the 9th excursion in 1949. Spain in 1953 for the 10th. The majestic Eastern Alps in 1956 for the 11th. Czechoslovakia once again in 1958 for the 12th. The wild beauty of Finland and northern Norway in 1961. The French Alps, Switzerland, and the Eastern Pyrenees in 1966. The Western Alps in 1970 for the 14th. Mainland Greece and Crete in 1971 for the 15th. The United States in 1978 for the 16th. Argentina in 1983 for the 17th. Japan in 1984. And Poland in 1989 for the 19th. These excursions, spanning nearly a century, represent more than just a series of scientific meetings. They embody the persistent human desire to understand the natural world, to connect across divides, and to witness the intricate dance of life on our planet firsthand. They etched new pathways of understanding, deepening our appreciation for Earth's green tapestry and forever changing how we perceive the dynamic, evolving landscape of botanical life. As the last echoes of our journey through the history of phytogeography fade, I hope this exploration has offered you new insights, a moment of calm, or perhaps even sparked a deeper curiosity about the intricate connections that bind life on Earth. The pursuit of knowledge is an ongoing expedition, and your presence on these voyages makes all the difference. If you enjoyed this narration, please consider liking this video, sharing your thoughts in the comments below, and subscribing to join our growing community of learners. I always love hearing what topics you'd like to delve into next. Until our next cosmic or microscopic adventure, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep vibing with science.